Welcome to the first episode of the Tessa Talks 2 podcast. We'll be discussing in these podcasts what music means to you. And if you have any stories or ideas you want to share, then please get in touch and email me at tessa@musicandofficers.com. Today I'm here at the RSA with Louisa Petais. Louisa is an opera singer and musician, educator. How are you today?
I'm very well, Tessa. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to be here at the RSA.
It's really lovely to be here. It's very inspirational.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm currently a singer and music teacher. I teach both voice and piano. And I've had a really interesting evolution, let's say. I've always been very interested in lots of things. So music has been my first love, primarily music and theatre. So I always knew that I wanted to be on the stage in some form. However, during my education I took various different routes and I studied so many different things. At one point I wanted to go into history and archaeology and the classics. I have a classics degree as well. And then the music was always such a strong calling for me, and the stage as well. I couldn't stay off the stage, so everything I did really was en route to kind of becoming what I am now. So yeah, that's just a little bit about how I've got here.
And we'll definitely go a little bit deeper into all of that. And before we get started, let's just have a sort of icebreaker to see, just to help the audience get to know you. If you were on a desert island, what song or aria would you sing that would make you feel most alive?
I guess, quite honestly, it would probably be Lady Macbeth's first aria.
Oh, wow.
Just because if that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like my trademark piece now. It's what I go in all guns blazing with. And the reason why it's so good for me is because there's no other way to sing it other than purely viscerally. And that wakes me up like nothing else. So it's kind of my warm-up. So if I wanted to rear up and get things going, I know it is weird, but I have a sort of, my voice likes it. So I could never warm up with something like a folk song. I'd have to do the Macbeth first and then do the folk song.
Okay, wow.
So really I need to connect to the visceral side of me first. Okay. So that would be the one. Yeah.
Interesting. So your whole body becomes alive.
My whole body becomes alive. Yeah.
And so how does music infuse into your daily life?
So as a teacher, I deal with so many different genres of music on a daily basis, and so I everything from pop to jazz to classical to choral stuff, early music, everything. So I take pleasure in everything that I do. I take a moment to appreciate everything for its own musical value. I find that really, because I work in music, I listen to less for pleasure. Mm-hmm. I tend to listen to it more if I have to study something specific, or if I'm en route somewhere, so on Spotify, and then I'll usually listen to whatever takes my fancy in the moment. So that could be anything from opera to belly dance, to be honest.
Whatever mood you're in.
Whatever mood you're in. Turkish pop, that's my current favourite.
Oh, wow, that's eclectic. And in answer to the question, what music means to you, it's difficult to summarise, but how would you condense that into a couple of sentences for you? I mean, you've recovered recently from a brain tumour.
Yeah.
Which it's a huge journey to have gone through, and I know music was a big part of that recovery. So yeah. Do you share a little bit of that?
Well, it was a pituitary tumour. So I mean, medically speaking, it's sort of in the sort of brain recess. It's not actually a brain tumour, but I had brain surgery. For my recovery, actually, interestingly, my recovery took place sort of mid and November, end of November, and that's when all the sort of Christmas music was starting to filter in. Christmas music isn't something I'd normally say was a sort of therapeutic, music for me. However, one of the first things I did at the end of my recovery was welcome a group of students into my house to rehearse for their carols. And having 4 voice parts sing together in my house while I was still recovering was so healing for me, so therapeutic, and it was for me to help them, but actually they helped me just by and they were also supportive, and it was a really lovely thing. It's actually a lovely memory,
really uplifting,
incredibly uplifting, incredibly positive, heartwarming, everything. But what does music mean to me? It changes on an almost daily basis, actually. But I think it's something that it allows me to express myself in ways that words cannot, and quite often what I will do is, when I'm feeling not so great or when I'm looking for answers, I'll just go to the piano and I will just get out a few sonatas and a few things that I used to play, because I used to play a lot more than I do now, and I will just go to the piano and I will find solace in that, and I will listen to things that kind of ground me a little, but music for me is more in the doing rather than the listening. I need to sort of restore a little bit of the listening element.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because for so many other people where music isn't such a big part of their life, then it's very much in the listening.
It's that
forms a much more proactive part. And as a teacher, your pupils, you see the benefit of, and you hear from them how much they're hopefully enjoying their lessons.
Hopefully.
Tell me a little bit about that, seeing music as a part of someone's life where it's not their profession.
I've seen lives changed. I'm not saying that that I've changed lives. I'm saying that the allowing music to be accessible for people for whom it may not be their it's not their primary thing. It's incredibly revealing how deep into the psyche it can go. I think especially with singing, because with singing it's so you are your instrument, your body is your instrument. However, very, very few people actually use the whole body. So when you teach someone finally how to connect sound and really make a resonant sound, that's where I see the magic happen. So with my students in particular, I work a lot on getting sound into the body, and they're probably sick of hearing me go on and on and on, but I'm kind of relentless about that, because the difference is astounding.
In their confidence, in their posture,
in their everything. For me, it's also about the quality of the sound you make. It's not just let's make a sound. It's how can we get you to make the best sound that you could possibly can, and sustain it. So, and then the music becomes something else. It's elevated. It becomes the best that it can possibly be.
Rooted in their physicality.
Absolutely rooted in their physicality. Yeah, I'm all about the visceral. So, that's what I try and express in the lessons, through various exercises and things, and then through choosing, hopefully carefully chosen repertoire. When people allow me to choose for them, it's very carefully chosen.
Of course. Going back a little bit to your recovery, if that's okay, because I think it's really interesting to hear a little bit more about how you use music. How did your relationship with singing and the voice, because it's so interconnected, music and health, and how do you find now that your relationship with music is perhaps a little bit different to how it was before your surgery?
So before my surgery, it was a very scary time. I suffered a lot from anxiety and was under a lot of stress, and so my musical commitments felt very clouded, very overloaded. And it wasn't the only thing I found solace in was my own personal study and technical improvements, where it was a no pressure environment where I could sort of continue to work on myself and my teaching. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me to get out of myself and just pour everything into other people, and to help others. And that really is something that where without music in my life that wouldn't have been possible. I don't think any other job allows you to really completely forget about what you're going through when you have to help someone else and use music for that. That was really, really crucial. What was the other thing you said?
Sort of how now how your relationship is with singing and the voice?
So an interesting thing happened to me. One of the first questions I asked my surgeon was, when can I sing again? And she said, well, you could, if you wanted to, you could probably sing, a few hours after your operation, although I don't think you'd want to. I started to sing at about 3-week mark. Now, you're supposed to take 6 weeks off. And around the 3-week mark, I was just bored as hell, and I was just itching just to kind of move the voice. And so I sort of like toddled into the practice. I was toddling everywhere because I barely could walk, and started to do a few scales and things. And obviously the body wasn't quite awake, but I thought, okay, voice feels good. And within a week, I was sort of up and down scaling the heights, thinking something feels different. Something feels different, and I don't know if it's crazy, but I suddenly felt like I had space.
Wow. Okay.
Space that wasn't there before, and that could be totally psychological. Actually, somebody asked me today, they sent me an email and they said, I'm interested to know how the transphonoidal operation, which is when they go up through the nose and in that way, how that has affected your resonance and your sound and how you sing. I can only say that actually, my septum is deviated to the point where it's just ridiculous. That's the only thing. However, it doesn't seem to have affected me negatively. I don't really feel anything negative when I sing. I just feel more space generally. So it could be something I'm making up, but or
also
just
be because you're feeling very relaxed as a result. Very,
I was
hormonally, chemically, sort of different.
I
balance.
think so. I mean, the pituitary gland, that's the master gland, that controls everything from a chemical point of view in the body. So if something is up, we know, as women we have a lot of hormonal fluctuations, and we know that from one day to the next it just changes everything, how we feel. If you imagine that on a really extreme basis where you have your hormones are going like this, the change from opening my eyes on the operating table was just absolutely immediate. So I opened my eyes and thought, oh, I feel different. I feel really different. So that was really, in terms of my voice, it's better. Everything is better.
It's brilliant. It's so good to hear that you can go through such a surgery and such a trauma in those ways and come out feeling with so much more confidence and so much more sort of happiness.
It really was like that for me. I was actually more worried about the intubation process, when they put the anaesthetic in and they put the tube down your throat. I was more worried about that. However, I communicated with the anaesthetist on a regular basis, wrote letters and everything saying, I'm a singer, please protect me. They were wonderful. The guy called me, we had a chat, he came to see me. He was just wonderful. So I would recommend anyone who is especially a singer to definitely talk to an anaesthetist beforehand. Make sure they know that you're a singer. Just go in screaming it, and they'll look after you. Yeah.
Oh, well, Louisa, thank you for sharing that. And where do you, final question perhaps, but where does your love of music and singing come from?
I don't know. It's something I can't remember not loving. So as a child, all I wanted to do was sing and dance. You just couldn't stop me. I would just sing and dance and dress up and tear clothes out of my mum's wardrobe and dance around the house and pretend to be someone else. And The King and I was my first ever sort of love. That's the musical. We had it on videotape. And I would call it the Getting to Know You after the song. I thought it was cool, Getting to Know You, for years. And I've just danced around. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, you lived it.
It seemed to be something really innate. Neither of my parents are musicians. My mum loved music, and she would have classical music sometimes in the house, but I took it to the next level. So
at least,
yeah.
I think it's quite clear what music means to you, and thank you very much for sharing it with your pupils. I think that's the most precious thing you can do, isn't it? Sort of to teach and to pass on a love and a passion.
I think so.
And we look forward to your upcoming concert. Do you want to say a little bit about your upcoming?
Yes. So this concert I'm doing is on the 22nd of March, and it's in aid of the National Brain Appeal. So this is the charity that supports the National Hospital where I had my surgery. All the work that the charity does is to fund really important research and improve treatment for the patients at the hospital. So, you know, that it's a charity, it's a hospital that covers everything. I mean, you're talking everything from migraines to multiple sclerosis to brain tumours to pituitary conditions, strokes, Parkinson's, like everything. It's such a huge scope. I mean, what happened to me was just, it's just a tiny bit of what they do. So it was really important to me that I give something back, and also that it's not just about the pituitary tumours, it's about everything. When I was in the ward, there were people who had all sorts of different issues around me, and you feel a lot of compassion for everyone that's around you. So I promised my surgeon on that day I would do a concert, and this is it. So it's the 22nd of March, Hind Street Methodist Church at 7 p.m, and it's a semi-staged opera scene. So I have a team of wonderful singers and a wonderful pianist, and hopefully we'll make some magic.
Well, we'll see you there. Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you.
So we're going to end this session listening to Louisa sing an extract from Lady Macbeth's first aria from Verdi's Macbeth. Thank you for tuning in to Tessa Talks 2, our first ever podcast, where we discussed what music means to you. And this session we had Louisa Petais here, who shared her journey of what music means to her. Opera singer, educator, and wonderful human being. Please join us for the next episode, where we'll be talking to another guest about what music means to them.